Oh, it's been a hot minute. HOTTOGO since I posted, and I'm sorry for that. I've been struggling with finals and personal issues like with my family and friends, and now that it's break again, I finally got to post this. As the new year steadily approaches, even though this will likely come out in January, I've been reflecting on all that I've done this year, and one of those things has been art. I resetted my YouTube channel to be a more art and edit focused roughly 3 years ago. Time flies, and I'm glad for that change because it increased my subscribers a decent amount. Oh, and I'm definitely too old to be a gotcha kid now. I still hold a fondness for it because it's what I used to do, and I definitely do still consume gotcha reaction videos and edits like Gordon Ramsay cooked meals. But because I quit gotcha, I got so much better at art. So basically, I'm going to be recapping all of my full illustrations I did this year that I can find, like a gallery walk. The first drawing I finished this year was posted on February 18th. It's Enoshina Nome from Project Sakai. I titled it Stained Canvas. Quick spoiler warning, this will include spoilers for Enna's stories, specifically the Nigo main story, Insatiable Pale Color, and maybe on this blank canvas I paint. The original concept I had for this piece was Enna is crying in the dark because she's dissatisfied with her art, and the door opens to reveal light. It was basically supposed to represent the duality of being an artist and how even if you're suffering from the lack of attention you get online, you have to put on a brave face and keep drawing. This is represented by how she only has paint on her face on the dark side of the illustration, which is basically how people online hide the true effort they put into their drawings because non-artists don't really care. They think effortlessness is what makes a drawing good and will spend maybe a few seconds looking at a piece on their timeline and maybe give it a like, while artists pour everything, blood, sweat, and tears, into their art, practicing to get better and losing sleep. Of course, this isn't the case for every non-artist or artist, but it really conveys Enna's story. I wanted to get the whole water motif of infinitely gray, in the event it was for, or across. Before you go on about aesthetics and pride, first you've got to do the things you can do. As explored in fructose tolerance analysis, the secret genius of infinitely gray, you need water to paint, so Enna is using her own hardships, her tears, to continue drawing. This motivation to improve was what kept her going, even though she wasn't satisfied. That's why on the light side, symbolizing a spotlight where her face is illuminated by the open door, she's opened her eyes, literally and figuratively, to this truth. Even though she's still crying, still sad, she doesn't have paint on that side of her face. She's still presentable. I really resonate with Enna's story as an artist who isn't really popular online. This was the impulsive beginning of my Night Court at 25 collection, but it's still not finished to this day. I started at Enna in December on a flight to Key West, Florida, and then I had my vacation and school started again, so it took me a bit to finish it. Here's some whips I found, dug up from the trenches of my friend's Discord server. I'm proud of how the illustration turned out. I think it was really good conceptually and thematically. The execution was just kind of mid. First of all, what the hell are those shoulders? They turned out better in the final due to me using Liquify, and I noticed how bad they looked when I got to the line art, but since I had already gotten that far, I just went YOLO and continued. The proportion of the shoulders and arms really do suck, because although Enna's sleeves are skin tight, it's so weird the way the arm just thins out with no clothing folds in sight. The shoulders are still lopsided in the final result. I'm also dissatisfied with the background. It's just kind of incomplete looking, and the light, it just looks too bright in that corner, with only some of it going onto Enna's face. I think I was trying to emphasize the open door, but I should have censored the yellow light and used Gaussian blur to make the lighting look more natural. The second drawing was posted on March 30th, only 5 days after my birthday, titled Ripples of Time. I'm really proud of this piece to this day, and everything from the lighting to the concept. I feel like I drew it right like I imagined it. I started this piece in January and finished in March. I had already been spoiled beforehand, but it was still an amazing show, and I recommend it to anyone who needs a new anime to watch. I'm working on a video essay for it right now. Quick warning, if you intend on watching it and want to get through unspoiled, either click off or skip to the next drawing because this is going to be spoilery and I do not structure my scripts that well, so I can't give you a clean cut at designated spoiler timestamp. This will include spoilers for Madoka Magica the main series and the Rebellion movie. I kind of just balled the drawing because if my memory serves me correctly, I didn't finish Madoka Magica at the time, and I just wanted to get a drawing out there because my pink, frill-loving self loves magical girl designs. Here's the sketch I did, which was just a lazy doodle I did with a hard dip pen and an Ibis paint, not even with my custom brush. It's very low quality, what the heck even is this? Eventually, the drawing came to be Madoka floating in space. She wasn't originally. I think I wanted her to be standing on something because, as you can see, she has a shadow in the sketch. I realized I wanted the drawing to represent Madoka after the universe was reorganized to fit her new order of the world with the law of cycles. I made glowing white strings connect to her arms, legs, hands, feet, neck, and waist to represent how she was bound to the law of cycles, a prisoner of her own making because of her desire to save the world, Homura, and the other magical girls. I hadn't watched Rebellion at the time I finished this, but I think it can also mean that Madoka, not the god, but the human part of her, was in Homura's hands the entire time. The amount of karmic destiny she bore were correlated to the amount of times Homura tried to save her from death or her becoming a witch. And in this timeline, she got the worst ending, to become a concept. Later in Rebellion, she was pulled from the law of cycles due to Homura's perceived selfishness, and I feel like using the strings to represent it was really clever of me. In the end, I drew ripples under Madoka's feet, as if she was walking in water instead of being in space, because she was drowning in her desire to save Earth, and she was becoming something else entirely. She wasn't Madoka, the junior high school girl, but rather Madoka the god in the law of cycles. She was drowning in the pressure and also Jesus metaphors. Water has a lot of religious connotations, like life and transformation. I initially just titled it Ripples of Time because it sounded good, but I realized that it fits a lot more. She bore her destiny in spite of the timelines Homura created. I wrote Madoka's name in hiragana in the corner because I felt like it added a lot, and Madoka can mean round, as in the law of cycles, if it's written with certain kanji. All in all, I like what I drew, but the pupils are uneven due to the scuff sketch. I feel like the ruffles on Madoka's sleeves aren't the same width on both sides. I drew the left hand facing the wrong side, but it's okay, maybe Madoka is just facing her palm out. We'll never know because she has gloves. And there's a random light source on the left side which is making the shadow disappear for some reason. It looks linear, so it can't be the multiple stars, which are lighting Madoka up mostly everywhere. I don't know, once again, I just thought it looked cool. Here are the whips. This was a quick doodle I did to break my silence for the Day of Silence, which is a student-led holiday which involves being quiet at school or college to combat the homophobia and oppression that LGBTQIA+ students have to go through, and then going home and doing something to break the silence, like an online protest. This was my piece, showing my flags and a few moon jellies underwater. It's celebrated on the second Friday of April, and in 2024, it was April 12th. There's really not much technical about this piece, I just wanted to show you. Here's a strawberry study I did with both watercolor and colored pencils, posted on May 24th. I love strawberries, and I still have this because as I had no one to give it to. I really like the way I used those white colored pencils on the insides of the strawberries to represent the vascular bundles. I had to look up what that was called, and the seeds look surprisingly good. The strawberries are inconsistent proportionally though, which I'm not pleased by. All fruits look different, that's a part of nature, but I feel like this looks like I forgot what angle I was drawing at, and since I picked off of multiple references, it doesn't mesh well together. The next illustration was digital again, and finally a continuation to my Night Court at 25 series, featuring Mizuki Akiyama, titled Hide Crinoline. According to these old Discord messages I found, I started it on April 6th and posted it on June 27th. Quick spoiler warning, this will include spoilers from Mizuki's stories, and Now I Wear This Ribbon, Secret Distance, and possibly What Lies Behind, What Lies Ahead. I kind of just had a rough concept of it, but I wanted Mizuki to be holding her past self in the world depicted in the Secret Distance event. As Project Sekai players know, Mizuki was and still is bullied and considered an outcast due to their open expression of both their gender identity and unique fashion sense. I wanted to make it look like Mizuki was regretful or wistful, and both resenting her past self for not having the courage to dress how they wanted to, and also feeling regretful about not being able to defend themselves when they got bullied. There was a vibe of lost innocence I wanted to get across with this piece. Mizuki's middle school self looks tranquil and at peace when they're asleep, and while Mizuki has her arms wrapped around them in a protective sense, as if she won't let anyone hurt them anymore. The reason I think I titled it Hide Crinoline and made her wear the costume of the same name was because a crinoline is a hooped or cage petticoat made to go under a skirt to provide support. Skirts and dresses are obviously associated with femininity, and Mizuki is bullied for wearing the female uniform with a skirt. Mizuki's outfit for Secret Dressing Room is technically historically inaccurate and wrong because her crinoline is almost fully visible. The costume represents her inner self and how she feels like she can never hide her secret of being an implied MAB, and because of how society has conditioned them, she doesn't feel like a real girl. The costume also has motifs of broken hearts with keyholes, which represents the door. Is that a Mitsuki reference? Sorry, I love Mitsuki. Telling Enna and the rest of Night Court secret, and ribbons, which are associated with femininity both generally and especially in Mizuki's story. I'm really proud of this concept, and as a non-binary fellow trans person, I know what it feels to feel like you'll never really be your gender identity due to transphobia and cis and heteronormativity. I go by they, them, but I don't really hate she, her pronouns and some feminine terms. But I like some masculine terms, but not he, him, and it's also confusing. I feel like I'm not a real NB, but gender is a social construct, and I don't need to have a linear perception of my gender. I really like what I drew, especially conceptually, but I feel like Mizuki's eyes are too small and too far apart to suit my art style. And this is a design mistake more than anything, but Mizuki's younger self is only seen from their head to their pants, usually, because their Live 2D model is shown, so I mistakenly gave them shoes without socks. I like my background too, because as I used real fabrics I found, and used the liquefying perspective tools and gradients to make it look cohesive with the final stylized piece. But I feel like it lacks that surreal pinkish haze that Secret Dressing Room has, which adds to the confusion of secrets, gender dysphoria, and emotional conflict that the event and I'd Smile presents. Quote, I can't proceed, but even faced with this dead end, I want to connect with you. Then I can't part with my secret. Here are the process pics. As you can see, I reworked the background in the middle of it because I just wasn't satisfied with how it looked, but I'm really proud of the finished result. The next piece I drew was a continuation of my Night Court collection, this time being Mafiu, posted on July 25th, titled In the Depths. Spoiler warning for Night Court at 25's main story, and the events we escape to survive, and most importantly, Farewell My Mask / Goodbye to My Masked Self, which had just been released on the EN/Global server at the time. The concept I had for this piece was Mafiu drowning underwater amongst moon jellyfish and koi fish, because she loves aquariums, and this is to represent her true feelings after confessing to her mom and running away. Also, it was raining when she ran away, so it added to the gloominess and melancholy of the thing. Can you tell I love water motifs? I made it so the koi were flooding towards her and she was surrounded by moon jellyfish on the other side, which makes sense because koi represent love and friendship, representing the support of Nigo and Kanade. And the moon jellyfish, while being the least poisonous of jellies, represent intuition, sensitivity, and the subconscious. So you can take it as either the toxicity of Mafiu's mom or her true feelings is crashing in on her all at once. I like this illustration, especially the background and the way I use color modes for the bioluminescence of the jellyfish, representing the power they have in Mafu's life and the situation in the event. I felt I wanted to convey Mafu's subconscious mind when she was hugging Kanade in this card and crying in her arms, cutting the strings her mom puppeteered her with. I feel like Mafu herself in this piece is a bit lackluster, but I suppose that it fits because she's not technically the focus of this illustration. It suits the atmosphere because she's being absorbed and drowning in her true feelings. You know the drill. I started the Kanade piece shortly after this, but it's still not done. Here's to hoping I'll be done on this weekend because I'm pretty finished with the coloring and I just need to color the lines and draw a background. Fast forward to November 17th, which is actually really good for me, procrastinator extraordinaire, considering I started this on October 3rd. I had to deal with keeping my upload schedule up on YouTube and at school and all that. This illustration, Dress Rehearsal, was intended to be my birthday gift for Farina for Genshin Impact, but it was still a month late as her birthday is on October 13th. It didn't get much traction online, but I'm still really proud of it, because the only Genshin design I've drawn in full and in detail was Kokomi's twice. Can you tell I love water yet? And I was still really confused by the shape of her sleeves. If you know me at all, like you're one of my friends or you've read the affix on my AO3 account, you know that I am positively obsessed with Farina and have been for a year. I love her design, story, relate to her a lot. She's my favorite character in all of media, and I just think she's a delight to watch. Here's my first ever sketch of Farina on November 19th, 2023. Almost directly a year before this, shortly after 4.2 came out and the Farina brain rooms were begging to be released onto the World Wide Web. She's really cute, but my composition and detailing in this drawing shows a lot about how I've improved in the past year. Okay, spoiler warning again. I really love to talk about story beats and use symbolism in my fan art. Sorry for you guys who don't play any of these games or watched any of these. This will include spoilers for the last act of the Fontaine Archon quest, Masquerade of the Guilty, and more specifically, the opera of Noirceur and Blancheur and finale. Excuse my French. This idea came to me during school one fine morning, as they come to most student artists, and the idea was that Farina would be in her quarters being taken care of by staff at the Palais Marmonia. It ended it up just being one, though, because I wanted to spare my wrist, like those European Renaissance paintings of noble women being taken care of by their maids. Considering Fontaine is based on France, and Farina being addressed as a lady and such, and being in a government position and having access to a bunch of luxuries, like Fontaine's White House, is essentially a nobleman. I say nobleman because she's very much gender identity ambiguous, and she takes roles of both historical women and men, which is great. I love my girl Prince. Unlike with most of my other drawings, the title came to me right away because, as you may or may not know, Farina had to fake her personality and put on a public persona to deceive both the people of Fontaine, the heavenly principles, and herself. Dress rehearsals are when performers or actors take their costumes and do a full run-through of a performance as if it was real. But the kicker is that she is getting dressed in her regular work clothes, because if it involves appearing in public, especially the opera Epiclese, then she'd have to put on an exaggerated persona and act, even if she wasn't performing. It is a dress rehearsal because she believes every day is a performance. So relatable. I am a mentally stable individual. Quick explanation of the details and quick interior design I did for Farina's quarters. The top of the window frame is shaped like this specific shape on the end of Farina's jacket and Fauchelor's dress, and the design end on the maid's dress and the floor is based on the design on the bottom of Farina's shoes, which I personally headcanon is the seal of the Palais Marmonia, because it looks a lot like the oratories and resembles the pattern on the bottom of Nouvelette's boots as well. The designs on the door and the desk are made to represent a decorative loopy stitch on the frills of Farina's hat, and they have the teardrops underneath too. Little wave patterns are on the flower vase in the back and the desk, which suits Farina because, water motif. Are you tired of me yet? Also, the flowers in the flower vase are maritime flowers. I'm pretty sure they were Fontaine's national flowers. I could be wrong, though. Anyway, I liked how this turned out, especially my design for the palette made aid and the way I was able to capture the details of Farina's outfit, especially her jewelry, like the round Varunata lazurite, a gemstone or a frame brooch, and her chains, garters, the brass details, teardrop-shaped gems, and the gold buttons. All in all, I think it looks great, and it was about time I finished a Farina drawing if I'm not obsessed with her. My one problem with this, though, is that it didn't get the aged old painting look I was going for due to the bright fluorescent lights of the Palaemon. I think it doesn't convey the original concept completely, but has its own charm. Okay, when I'm writing this part of the script, it's almost 12 a.m. on a Friday evening, and I promised to fix my bad sleep schedule for our 2025, so goodbye. On an unrelated note, today during band class, some kid walked past me and said he found my YouTube channel in a condescending way, and I was so embarrassed because I'm like the notoriously annoying and cringy kid in my school, because my school is filled with judgmental teenagers. It's whatever though, he and his friends probably had his laugh of my edits at Genshin and my dead serious video essay on a children's show about anthropomorphic ponies. Don't ever stop being cringe. Do what you love. And here's to a 2025 filled with joy, hobbies, passions, and art improvement.